Hey everyone, this week's show is all about our new software update, Oakland.
We got a bunch of new features to go over, so get buckled in. We're going to go over probe points. We're going to go over adaptive speed for BenchPilot.
Yes.
We're going to go over ramping options when you're cutting dovetails or undercuts, and a bunch more.
Remember, this is a live show that happens every other Thursday. Today you're watching the recorded version, but join us live sometimes. We do giveaways, live Q&A, and you get to see us mess up from time to time.
Enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake,
And I'm Sean,
and I'm very happy to be back.
and Jake is back after a nice little parental leave.
Dude, can you believe he's already 10 months old?
Crazy.
I know.
Time to keep it going by.
It really does.
Well, we have a great show for you today, and I'm happy Jake's here to join me because I've been missing him. And he's back, and today we are going to show you everything to know about the new Oakland release.
Yeah, all about the town.
So the team at Shaper has been working very hard on this release for a while, getting it all nice and buttoned up. And as of Monday, it's out for everybody. So if you haven't already updated, we're going to quickly show you how to do that. Jake, let's pop over to that Origin screen.
If you haven't walked over to Origin in a while, make sure first that it's hooked up to Wi-Fi. And once it is connected to Wi-Fi, you're going to see a little blue dot up there in that top corner next to that gear wheel.
Yeah, just imagine it's here for us.
Yeah.
We're already updated because we're good citizens.
Under info, what we want to see there is Oakland. If you see anything other than Oakland,
Yeah, you'll see a little green text that says update available.
Yep.
And just follow that through, and up in the top where it says that thing, it should be downloading automatically. But if not, you can always hit that check button. We're already up to date, and if you click it, it'll tell us you're up to date. So this is the current build, but updates keep coming out, so you might get some new ones in the future. But yeah, always be updating Origin, and then you get to experience some pretty fun new features, bug fixes, and just beautiful system updates. So today we're gonna go through all these. If you ever wonder what comes out in every update, you can go to this screen and kind of walk through the thing. So we'll do a quick walkthrough, and then we're going to deep dive into each one and show you some examples and how they work and answer questions. So this is Jake. Why don't you take the first one?
we got probe points. This is a feature that we've been talking about for years, and really excited to see it finally come to the tool. We're now using Origin as essentially a scribe.
Yeah, a survey tool.
Survey tool, thank you. That's what I was
Something
looking
to pull understanding of the real world into Origin so you can modify it digitally. So a couple releases ago, we did probe circle and probe rectangle, so you could probe circles and rectangles. Now you can think of probe point as more irregular shapes. So
Everything else.
Anything from trapezoids and pentagons to even just very interesting curves and whatnot. So we're going to go through that quite a bit today. Be quite heavy on the probe points.
We also have another huge upgrade specifically for BenchPilot, adaptive speed. This is going to basically monitor the speed that BenchPilot is traveling so that it slows down when it approaches those hard corners.
Yeah, this is going to help get increased cut quality, and there's a bunch of stuff to go over with that. It's pretty early in development cycle, but we want to get it to you, and we're going to show you kind of some before and afters later on in the show.
Yep. We also have select all uncut. So now if you've gone through and made a selection, instead of having to manually select what's left, you can just simply select all uncut. And turning pass depth off. So if you're using a dovetail cutter or any kind of undercut bit, like a T-slot or dovetail, instead of ramping that first cut, we can actually turn that off so it goes straight to the final depth and then starts its cut path.
Yeah, pretty great for any of those types of undercuts. So we'll show some demos on that as well. All right, last but not least, we got a couple kind of under the hood features this first one is system health check. And so basically, this is a background check that checks the kind of state of your hard drive and your file system. And if there's any problems, it'll kind of let you know and help you resolve them on your own, so you don't have to call support and get help from us. But most people probably won't ever see this. That's a new feature that we've put in, and there will be more added to that over time.
And it happens so fast you won't even notice it.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. But just kind of keeping everything a lot cleaner in the system. And then last but not least, everyone's favorite, Wi-Fi improvements. So we did a lot of work on the Linux side to get Wi-Fi a lot more compatible with new types of things, so like WPA3, and then also just a bunch of different things like the mesh networks that had some issues. We made some improvements there, as well as things like being able to disconnect from a network without forgetting it, to just in general better connection once you've kind of entered your password over time. So lots of good under the hood improvements. We'll go over a little list at the end of the show with some extra ones, but for this show, we're going to try to take a little bit of every one of those, and let's go ahead and jump into pro points.
All right. So, start off, I've already scanned in my workspace here. What we're doing is we have a drawer front with this tiny little handle that kind of made it look like in a manila envelope or something. We didn't quite like this design. It was a little too shallow to actually get your fingers in and open. We want to change that. So, first start with a scan.
Yeah, and this was something we built without Origin. This was just a drawer front that I cut and built in the wood shop. And then, let's say it's a prototype. We're digitizing it. We want to make a new one, but we didn't have the file in the first place. This is like a workflow to take something out of the real world and turn it into kind of a digital format so you can reproduce that over and over with precision. So that's the way I like to think of pro points is you're normally starting with something in the real world that you don't have the file for already. There's plenty of jigs, plenty of things that you just want to make sure you can map all of the features on the wood so that you can get it into Studio or other digital programs for further manipulation.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to start off with a probe rectangle just to find the exact center of my drawer box.
Yeah, so here we're going to actually combine, probe points with probe rectangle. And so we'll start by probe rectangle because that's going to give us that kind of envelope of this drawer front. And it'll also put a grid in the middle. So now we have the boundary of that piece of wood plus the kind of center grid, which is great because when we go to Studio, everything's going to be aligned real nice. Now, the important part here is we want to use this new probe points feature. And actually, one thing we should note, probe points is a labs extension currently. So if you don't see it in that menu, you're going to go to the settings. Let's jump over there so we can show people how to get there. Go down to extensions and find the probe points thing. And you just need to make sure you click enable. If you click on the name of the feature, then it'll take you to a page where you can click enable and then it'll show up on tools. So this is kind of an extra extension currently on Oakland release.
And all those labs features live under create. So I'm going to start it off. Much similar to a grid. We're just going to I have our engraving bit in backwards, so it's just a solid 1/4 inch shank. And I'm lowering that down just below my surface.
Yeah, and the idea here is just to take a bunch of points on these parts that weren't easy to use with probe rectangle. So this is kind of essentially a trapezoid. So we'll essentially take a couple points along each line so that we can rebuild that and then get a change to happen in Studio to change the format of this shape without having to try to guess the alignment or figure out where these things might go. Taking these points out of the real world means when we modify in Studio and come back to Origin, everything's going to line up exactly where we want it, which is a really, really cool feature of this.
Sweet. So I got my 6 points down, really just 2 per flat section, so that I have 2 reference points for each straightaway. Hit finish, and use our export feature to send that over to Studio.
Nice. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and load Studio on the computer. And it's going to load. And one of the cool things about Studio is it's going to load the latest file that's modified because that was exported from Origin in as a Studio design. If you just load Studio, this will be the latest modified project, and we can come in here and take a look at what's going on. So we have our rectangle that was created from probe rectangle, and now we have these points that were created from when Jake used the probe points feature. Okay, so you can think of these as this was the bit that touched the material we have. So obviously, we don't have the outline of the handle yet, but we're going to basically rebuild that using the draw tool. So I'm just going to come over here and select the draw tool. And here's kind of my flow for how I like to do this. I know we touched the inside of the shape, so these are all points on the inside. So essentially I'm going to take these first two, and I'm just going to click a point here. And now you'll see when I go to click, it's kind of snapping to things right now. I don't really want that right now. So I'm going to go up to design, and I'm going to turn smart alignment off. And that's going to allow me to kind of click anywhere I like. So I'm going to pick this kind of point right on the edge here, and also a point right on this edge. Okay, so that's going to kind of basically create that line that's essentially that angle. And so if I hit escape now, if I hit escape, the whole thing will get deleted. But if I click the draw tool, like the D key on my keyboard, it'll complete that shape. Okay. And now the idea here is I'm just going to move this to where it's touching both of these pieces. And now I just need to extend it on both sides. So there's a couple ways I could do it. I could go in here and I could drag this, and I could, kind of make it touch the corner. And then I could come over here and do the same thing. Oh, looks like I got refresh. Let's come back to here. Let's go ahead and repeat that. I'm going to hit the D key to bring up the draw tool. Click, click. Hit the D key again to finish it. And now I'm going to hit the escape key to go into select mode. And that gives me this. So I can kind of drag that out here. And then I can also drag this point out. And essentially, see how when I'm moving them, they're getting close to those corners. As soon as I get both where I went in them, I just stop. And that essentially defines that first corner. That was where I was touching these 2 points here. So essentially, I'll do the same thing for these two here. So I'm gonna grab the D key again, and I'll click here at the top, and I'll click here at this top. Now, I'm going to hit the D key again, and this time, instead of dragging each of these corners out each way, I'm going to solve it a different way. So I'll hit the escape key to get out of the draw tool. And then if I click the middle, you'll see there's a dot here, or a circle here, and a dot here. Now, because this line's already defined by these 2 points, I can go over to here in the length column, and I can just make that a little bit longer. So right now it's about 2. Let's make it 3. What you're going to see is it's going to extend the dot out this way from the rectangle point. Now, if I click this again, it will swap the rectangle over to the other side. And so now I just need to extend this point beyond that line. And you can see the invisible line coming here. And I'll just make this 4 inches. Okay? And so now those first 2 points I took, that line will not change. Whereas when I was changing these by dragging them, they could move a little bit. So that's kind of 2 ways to solve the same problem. Kind of up to you how you want to do it, but depends on the situation. Maybe both are useful. So I'm going to click the last one here and here, hit that D key again and escape. And then I'm just going to drag this one out to where it's perfectly in line, drag this one out to where it's nice in line, and then boom, now we have defined that handle region that was part of this. Nice. Right? So now we have a pretty great understanding of exactly where that previous part was. So, if I wanted to make it bigger, or, in Jake's case, he said he wants to make the handle deeper, and he wants to change the profile of how it kind of cuts into this. We could do a couple things. We could kind of take, we could take a circle and we could move that maybe like around here. Now I am going to turn on snapping again here, just so I get the alignment a little bit more where I want it. And now you can see it can help snap to things. And so maybe I'll do we like this kind of curve here, Jake? Where it's kind of like, getting a little bit bigger, a little wider, and then maybe we pull it up a little bit.
I think that's perfect.
Okay, so here's a good trick. Because we probe rectangle, the center of this piece of wood is at 0, 0. And now this circle is at -1.53 and -2.62. So if I want to put this circle over here and match this, I could duplicate this in place by going down here to this thing and saying duplicate in place, and that's going to put another shape right on top of this. And then if I just go to the X, and instead of negative, I make it positive, boom, it's going to mirror over across there, right? And then now maybe I'll just take a draw tool and kind of pick a point here and pick a point at the center of this one and hit D to finish that. And now we have the ability to kind of rebuild this curve. So all I'm going to do here is select everything hit Shapeshifter. And now you'll notice if you were recently around, Shapeshifter has a new UI. It's much larger than it used to be. So you can kind of see more what's going on. And all I'm going to do is click and drag all the parts that I want to keep. And so I'm just going to come over through here, make sure I drag. I'm just holding the mouse key down to make sure it selects everything that I want. Okay, cool. And I guess if I was going to really do this, I would have extended the front here too, so that I kind of cut off the edge of the material. But you know, it's fine. We're just kind of showing you a demo here, and I'm going to say keep existing shapes because I may want to change that later. Hit finish, and now we have this new shape. And if we go to plan mode, we can kind of see if I make this an inside cut, what's going to happen. Oh, looks like I forgot one little part when I was adding it together here. So this is exactly why when you're doing this work, it's nice to keep the shape because you might have to go back and re-shapeshifter it. I also noticed one thing I didn't like, Jake, which is the way this curve happens, it's going to come back in on itself. Mm-hmm. So to fix that, I'm just going to make the diameter a little bigger. Do 1.5, and I'll do 1.5 for this. And then I'm just going to kind of bring it down so that it intersects in the same spot. And that will give us a much nicer profile. Okay, make sure it's all snapping. Okay, great. Now, select all again. Go to shapeshifter mode. And now I'm just going to make sure. Actually, let's just do it the right way since I keep forgetting. I'm going to come in here and make another draw tool at the bottom just to connect these.
Yeah, close it out.
So that way I can have a full shape that comes off the edge. Now we'll select all, hit shapeshifter, and I'm just going to drag select all of this. I really love this, hold the key down and do it that way. Okay. Oh, okay, so I must have had something that's not connected properly at the moment. Let me come back here. Probably when I made this this shape here, it was not quite right. So I'll do the little trick here. 3.5. Swap this to 4 so that we have a little extra on both sides. And let's try that. Okay, select all this. Nope, still missing something. Okay.
Just think of it like there's a leak somewhere in the shape.
Yeah, it's like if you zoom in, these are not really connected. So maybe I'll just bring it down just ever so slightly with using the arrow key, one little click, and then that should do it for us. So if you ever get in the case where you're shape shifting something and it's not actually selecting correctly, yep, there we go. See how now those things are intersecting properly? So you can just kind of go through there and figure out what part isn't actually connecting.
Okay. Remind me that hotkey for select all that you've been using.
Command A will do that for you. And then I really love this select all where you just click and hold the mouse and drag through and then keep existing shapes. Boom, we have this nice shape that's going to be right in the right spot. I'm going to go ahead and turn everything into a reference path. And this is going to essentially make sure I can use it later but not get rid of it. And then I'll just come back and find I'll find the shape we want to do and turn that only into a regular cuttable path. Turn that into a inside cut. We got a what cut size bit? 1/4 inch?
1/4 inch.
1/4 inch. So there's our preview. And now the beauty is because we started this on Origin with the probe points, we can go right back to Origin and import that shape. And it's going to basically put it exactly where we had it. And so this is kind of one of the beauties of using the probe features on Origin with a grid. Now all Jake needs to do is put that specific anchor back at 0, 0. And if he zooms in, when you'll see in a second, basically that shape is going to be right outside the previous shape. And then he can just get to work.
Great.
So we'll quickly cut that and show you how that looks. And I hope that was a little nice, fun version of Studio. Maybe a little more than we normally do as far as how to use Studio, but quite useful when you're in the mode of how do I fix this issue. Okay, so Jake's just gonna go and he's bench piloting. Very nice. So yes, so now basically BenchPilot's going to do its thing and go around. Now you're going to notice a new icon at the top, which is the adaptive speed feature. So he's kind of getting ahead of the curve right now. And you can see as we go around, it's just going to slowly, but we're going to go over adaptive speed after this and show you a bunch of fun features that are related to that. But this is a pretty good example of how you take something that you didn't previously cut with Origin or even have files for and map Origin and the design software to it. This is pretty unique. I mean, taking something existing and have it perfectly line up is just not something you find in other programs, products, etc. So this kind of world where you're moving between the digital on Origin and Studio and into the real world is something else. So, boom. So we go from that kind of different design to this without having to throw this piece away and start over.
I like that. And it's ready to do all the rest of the drawer fronts.
And we could take that same file, and now we put that into some system where we do repetitive cutting over and over, which I believe, Jake, we have a show coming up about some advanced fixturing in the future.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll use the same one. Okay, so that's the probe points. A general workflow of using Origin to probe, coming into Studio, doing modifications and kind of rebuilding that design based on what you probed, and coming back. Now, obviously, the first question is, well, don't you have another product that does this called Trace? And yes, there is that product. And we always say, you have choice. You can use that. You can use this. There's so many ways to do the same type of thing in woodworking and even with our tools. But sometimes you might be in the middle of a project and it's faster to probe and make those changes in Studio, sync them over, than to get out Trace, draw it, whatever. Also, you might have something really big. We have a blog post that went up for Oakland. Maybe while Jake's resetting up, I can pull that up.
I like to think that we have a lot of different ways to do the same thing because we want to match whatever your flow is in that moment.
It's true.
We don't want you to be held up whatever
Also,
you're in the mood.
The nature is that most woodworkers do the same thing multiple different ways. That's kind of the beauty of woodworking. We all get to argue about the best way to do it, but it's just there's no one way to do it. It's just what do you prefer?
Sean hand scrapes all of his cabinetry.
I don't use sanders, okay, Jake? Okay, so we're going to jump into I would just show you this in case you haven't seen it because it's a more condensed version of the session. But we have a blog, search blog/Oakland, and you'll see it. But basically, we go into some detail, which we're going into here. Here's one where there was a large wooden template, and we used the probe points to collect a bunch of points along that. And so here you can see we're lowering the bit down, touching all those edges. And then when that's complete, we export that to Studio and then rebuild that shape. Then you have a template. So if you may have a bunch of wooden templates in your home that you didn't build with Origin, that you built years ago, if there's an issue with it, if you break it, you can rebuild that in Studio based off your existing templates, even if you don't have digital files in the first place. So just another way to get your ideas into the brain of Origin's file system. Okay, so that's a cool one. And then I'd say at this point, I was going to show one other cool one where you might think, hey, where would I be using probe points at? And
material.
Oh, yes, this. Where might I be using it? And I'm just going to pull up this image for you. And we'll go back to my computer. So this is a fun one. Ed, if you're watching, Ed sent this over to me. This is a project he used before probe points came out that he was telling me he would love to have something like this for. And basically this is a very custom sign he did for a company. And he wanted to design the sign in the kind of style of the wood. And so this big crotch walnut piece, he really knew where he wanted all these things to land. So he knew he wanted this to land on the corner, and he knew he wanted the font to be here and have so much spacing between this edge and this edge. And while you can design that and measure it out and kind of rebuild it in Studio, etc., it's just a lot easier to put some tape on here, probe it all out, when you open Studio, you would kind of have essentially the outline of this. So when you're moving your designs around, if you want this piece to end right on the corner, you just move the design there, and then when you go to cut, you know it's going to be there. You don't have any questions of, okay, how is the image line up? Did I do my grid right? It's just kind of everything's there. So these are kind of another little example of where you might use probe points. Okay, so that was the edge version of this. So there's really two ways to use probe points. You can think of it as you have a router bit, you lower it down, you touch the edge of something, and as long as you put the diameter of your bit when you're touching the edge, you can kind of back calculate the edge of your material. Now, the other place where this is really useful is when you want to kind of map out a surface feature. And so, for instance, we set this up. This is maybe if we go to top cam for a minute, we can kind of explain what we're doing. Okay, you're going to have to close your eyes a little bit, squint them for us. Imagine you're on the floor and you have a floor that is a little bit of a crack in it or some defect in the top. And, Origin's great because you can bring it to the workpiece. So we could bring Origin to the floor here, put some tape out if we wanted to kind of put a plug in this piece. Now you can see in the bottom here, this is actually like a bark inclusion. So it just actually is like, it's got a little tab on it. So I was like, Jake, what if we just use this to show how you can do surface probes? Okay. So we'll bring that over here.
Go ahead and get rid of my old stuff here.
Okay. So and the idea here is that we're going to use the point of an engraving bit to mark our probe points. And instead of using the screen, we're going to actually just look underneath the bit, and we're going to lower the bit point right over our material. And now Jake's going to take a bunch of points by looking through the bottom around the area he wants to plug. So he's just going to take as many or as little as points as he wants. And the beauty of this is we're kind of ignoring the screen right now. Like we don't care about that right now. We only care about the bottom part. And this is going to help us fix that screen alignment. So if you used Origin in the past, the screen is good up to 1/4, 1/8 of an inch, depending on a bunch of variables. Sometimes better, sometimes not great, depending on your application. But when you use the engraving bit to probe, either by using a grid or using these probe points, everything's going to be lined up perfectly, okay? And so you can kind of see even when we look at the screen now where the dots lined up. And sometimes those dots will be a little bit shifted off your image, but you should trust the dots, not the image, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jake probed out where he wants, and you probed the center of the thing. So like we don't actually care about the outsides of these points. We only care about the insides, and that's going to be an important distinction here. So let's go ahead and export that.
First, I need to create a quick grid, and I don't care about the actual edge of this. I'm going to do what we call a double tap grid.
Yeah, anytime you want to bring files from Origin up to Studio, then back to Origin, you really want to have a grid. And the beauty is you don't really need to care where the grid is. You just kind of show this method where you double click.
Boom,
and it's going to make a grid that's roughly aligned to how Origin's looking. And that's just going to let us kind of sync the files back into the right spot later.
Get rid of these old ones for you.
Oh, you didn't make a new scan?
I didn't.
You're a little rusty, Jake.
Rusty and trying to be quick. All right, I'm going to export this for you.
All right, bring it up. Okay, so once he exports it, I'm going to go to the computer and reload Studio. It's going to automatically pull up the latest file, which in this case is here. Now, this might not look like much, but because Jake used that engraving bit, I only care about the center. I don't care about the edge probes because we were using the center of the point. So I'm just going to take the draw tool and I'm just going to make sure that my smart alignment's on. And now when I use the draw tool, you see how when I go up to here, it's like picking the center of this circle automatically. I'm going to go around and make a kind of a layout that matches exactly where he probed, okay? And I'm using spacebar to move when I don't want to click. If you hold down the spacebar, you can kind of drag your view around. Okay, so there's the center. Here's the center. And you can see it's the center because I'm getting two red areas showing up, and that shows you're at the center of this bit. Okay. And then I'll keep coming around here. And then when I come to this last one, I'm just going to see it's going to connect. And you see how when I get to the end, it kind of builds that shape? So this is exactly the shape that Jake probed out on the center, okay? which is great. Now, all we need to do is use that brand new feature in Shaper Studio, Radius, to add a radius. So when we make the plug, everything will kind of fit. So, Jake, what size bit are we going to use?
I'm using a 1/4 inch bit, so I
Quarter inch. Okay.
0.13 inch radius.
Great. Okay, so first step, you'll notice I'm just going to select that shape I made. And if I go to the radius tool, it doesn't let me do anything. But if you notice when you hover, it says shapes that are created with a draw tool must be simplified with shapeshifter before adding a radius. So I'm just going to do that. Click shapeshifter, click the middle, hit finish. And now the radius tool shows up. Okay, so now to add a radius, I'm going to click that button. And then what is the radius? It's half of the bit diameter, essentially.
Yeah.
So if we're using a 1/4 inch, I want to be 0.125 or larger. Is that correct?
Yeah, I usually go 0.13.
Okay, so 0.13. Jake says it. It's his day. He can pick what he wants. And then, boom, now that is going to be radiused for that size. Now, if you wanted it to be more curved, you can see here it's kind of a little tight bend here. You know, obviously, you could come back here and change it to 0.15. The larger you get it, the more you're going to have curves. But, yeah, keep it 1.3. Jake's in control today. Okay, so now this file here is good. Now, probe points automatically come into Studio as guides, so they're green. So we don't have to worry about them. We just need to worry about this here and here. Turn this into a pocket. And then how deep do you want it?
0.3.
We'll just click and make it
0.29.
0.29 deep. Okay. All right, so there's a 0.29 pocket.
Excellent.
And we're ready to go back to origin.
Grab it in my import list, and there it is, top of the list. Drop it at 0, 0.
And make sure that when you import that back on the origin, in that left-hand corner, you see that little red triangle where the anchor point is, because that's going to make sure that it imported the triangle that came off of origin.
Ah, right here.
Correct. But it should do that basically automatically. So, but if you don't see it, make sure you go into Studio. And if we come over to Studio real quick, I'll just show you if that's not showing up. So you'll see a red triangle here is great. But if I come to design mode, you'll see this new option, origin anchor. Turn that off. The red triangle goes away and it'll import like normal. Make sure that's in the on mode with the red triangle to get the file back and forth properly.
Nice. All right, I'm going to cut this twice because we're making a plug. And we just created this file. So I'm going to copy it and drag it down here into my piece and cut the plug out first.
We should explain just so people know. We were going to do this plug over here, but we didn't have a lot of room. So we're doing something that we don't normally do. We have two different thickness pieces on BenchPilot's shelf. The taller ones at the front and then the smaller ones towards the back. And because we only have a little bit to cut, it's not really overhanging that much. And we're going to cut that one first. So we'll do a Z-touch off the material below in the bottom one, and then we'll re-Z-touch when we go to cut the top. So don't forget that, Jake.
All right, I'm ready to cut.
Okay. Now, I guess while we're cutting this, we got a couple minutes for this one and that one. We haven't really talked too much about adaptive speed, but that new icon, as I mentioned earlier, is new, and at the top of the screen is going to tell you we're in adaptive speed mode. And adaptive speed mode is essentially going to take a look while it's cutting and say, hey, how fast should I be traveling around turns, around corners? And it's going to slow down, essentially, if it detects any of those. So that's why you can see right now where it's actually slowing down a little bit at some of these turns to try to get a really nice cut quality for us. Now, this feature, we'll show a bit more in a second. It's not actually activated by default, and we'll show you how to activate that. And it's not always the perfect feature to use when you're cutting specific things, but in general, we're using it quite a lot. And while Jake's doing this, I realize he's just already in the he's already in adaptive speed mode. So I guess we'll talk about it a little bit. Oh, he's deciding.
Let's see.
Yes or no. Yes or no. Okay. He's going no. Okay, so we'll hold the rest for the next little session. Here he's selecting the other side. And now we're just going to pocket this out. So Origin's going to blast through this little area. If you haven't really paid attention to BenchPilot and you're normally using Origin manually, BenchPilot's automatically going to create regions for you for pockets, and so you don't really need to think about how it's going to clear that area out. You can just tell it, hey, cut this pocket, and it'll do all the heavy lifting of figuring out what should be cut and what shouldn't be. You'll notice also Jake cut the plug first, and so we always suggest this if you're new to Origin and you're trying to do an inlay or something that fits. It's always easier to cut the plug first, because you can always make the offset larger on the piece that's mating with it. And so, we're going to cut this to 0 as offset as he's currently set up. But when we go to try to fit that other piece, we might back that off so we get a really nice, clean fit. But after BenchPilot finishes pocketing that area, it'll go around and do kind of this final cleanup pass around the entire area. And what you'll notice is when we turn that adaptive speed feature off, BenchPilot is just going to drive at whatever speed he has it. And so it's not going to slow down for those corners. And so, there's some trade-offs with how you use it. So, okay, Jake, how are we doing?
Doing good. Just popping off that plug that we made so I can do a test fit.
What do you think? It's going to fit?
0 to 0?
Doubtful. I'm surprised you didn't go for it on the first one. 5 thou negative.
Like you said. I'm rusty, but that actually is perfect. So that's why. And there we go.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Okay, so that is a little workflow for surface probes. Maybe pull that out so we can show it off. Top cam. So now we have, plugged an area that was defective. And boom. Yeah, looks great. So, that's the other way to use the Probe Points feature is just to kind of do that. So, yeah.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, that is a fun one. So, okay. So we're a little over from what we had planned, Jake. So I think we should go to mid-show break now. And then we'll pick up with adaptive speed afterwards. All right. It's break time. We hope you enjoyed our Probe Points little demos. Yeah. Poll question is going to pop up. And the poll question this week is, what I'd like to hear from you. What features would you like to see come to Origin software? We've asked it a couple times, but I always find when we put new stuff out, answers change. And
exactly.
We're excited to see. So there's going to be a poll question pop up. Go ahead and type your answer in from there. That's going to enter you for the drawings at the end of the show.
Yep.
All right, and while that's up, we got some important things going on, Jake.
One of my favorite things of the year.
Box challenge. All right, so let's jump into my computer, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. So box challenge is already happening. We are quarter of the way through, I think, at this point. And basically, the box challenges show us some stuff that you make with Origin. And so we'll be voting, Jake, some other Shaper employees on the best 3. It's open to all Shaper Origin owners or those even with access to an Origin. If you have one in the shop, you can create projects, and we're going to show you how to do that in a second. And really, we're just judging it based on design of the project and craftsmanship. Top prize is $900 to the Shaper Store. Second prize is $450 credit to the Shaper Store, and third prize is $300. And then all we really need to do here is post your project on Shaper Hub to enter. And make sure you use this hashtag box challenge, and I'll show you where that goes in just a second. Add 3 photos or videos, and post it by the end of July. And I don't know if you remember, but last week in sessions, or 2 weeks ago, we introduced Box Joint Pro, which allows you to do some pretty sweet looking box corners. So you should check that out if you haven't. If you missed that session, go check that out, and then go explore it in Studio. Let's go to some of the submissions just real quick. We might as well. We're in it already.
Let's see.
So just for a quick reminder, if you go here, you want to make sure that you have the box challenge. This is a great example. You need the box challenge in here, not in the title. And so you're just going to edit this project and make sure you have hashtag box challenge in this area. And so we'll reach out to Brian so he can get a note. But yes, something like this would be great. And then that'll enter you. But yeah, we got some really sweet boxes already starting to get built out. Some beautiful keepsakes, some nice textures. I saw this Pokeball.
Oh, that's cool.
Look at that. Little Pokeball. Catch them all, you know? Yeah, so box challenge is live. We have a little bit more time. If you need some inspo, here's a couple. Jake built a couple of these years ago.
I think that's
Remember this guy?
3 years ago?
Yeah, a while ago. We're not eligible to win, only you. So, Jake, sorry to burst your bubble.
That's all right.
Please check it out. Check out the projects, get inspired, and enter to win.
Nice. We also have a very exciting thing that just got released today. It is a new masterclass with none other, Mr. Mike Pekovich.
Dun, da, da.
And we have a little sneak preview that we'd like to show you right now. If we can get that pulled up.
Handwork is really dependent on really accurate layout. What we've done is we've effectively just cut a dovetail. I mean, you learn how to cut rabbets and dados and grooves, maybe throw a dovetail and miter in there. Everything else is just combinations of that. At least that's my approach to woodworking and to problem solving. If you hear that sound, it's not really cutting, it's just creating a series of indents. If anything, think about unweighting the saw. In practice, just skimming the saw above the surface. For most of us, this notion of combining machine and handwork, it's a natural thing. If we assign equal importance to every single task in a project, it may leave us lacking the bandwidth and energy to really pay attention to what is important. This has to do with this notion of equal versus exact. The fact that they're equal in width is far more important than whether they match any dimension exactly. I think there's an intrinsic humanity to craft in that what we're making are useful objects, and that the things we made will be used by others. That drives everything I make.
I cannot tell you how excited I am for this one.
This one's going to be quite good.
Yeah.
As they all are. If you don't know, we have a whole series of masterclasses. Let me show you how to get there if you come to the computer. So if you come to the computer, up in the top, you'll see all our products and things. And there's just a big button called Masterclass. If you click that, it's going to take you to the main page where you can see all the classes we've done, each one on a very specific type of thing, like chair making or furniture design or box making. Obviously, Mike's is about techniques to woodworking. And if you click his class, you can kind of scroll down and see that he has cabinet design and layout class. He has a hand-cut dovetails class. I mean, who doesn't want to learn that one, you know? Mortise and tenon layouts, stub tenon door frames, ginkgo inlays with BenchPilot. So some of these are origin-based, and some of them have nothing to do with origin. These are all free. All you have to do is sign up for an account on Shaper, and then you can watch, I don't know, it's got to be 10 hours, easy, 15 hours of video on these different things.
Easily.
I mean, it's a lot of material. So I would suggest you go check it out and enjoy it. We had a good time making it and bringing it to you.
Nice.
Okay, I have one last update, a correction. You will not win $900 for the Shaper Store if you win first place. You will win $1,000.
Or 900 euros.
I was on the wrong website. Or 900 euros, whichever one you're eligible for. So, sorry for that. I was on the wrong page, but, well, it's a live show. It is what it is. Okay, last up, we do have a shop tour. After my call last time, we had a bunch of people sit in shop tours.
Yes.
So we have 3 or 4 in the queue now. And today's is Frank Bach. A nice small little shop, well organized.
Perfect.
Let's run it.
Today we're going on a tour of my shop in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay, here we are in my shop. I started out wood turning. I think my first bowl cost me about $10,000, but if you're a woodworker, you know that story. But anyway, scroll saw, my workbench, tools, some clamps, my compressor I use here in the shop, my filtration system, planer, joiner, bandsaw. This is where I do my turning. This is my first lathe I purchased. Grinder for sharpening. Boxes I made on my Shaper. I did all the dovetails. I'm not sure if you can see them or not, but did all the dovetails on those. Turning tools, some of my hand tools. Coming around, sandpaper storage. Wood stove for heating in the winter. All my Shaper equipment, my Shaper, my small lathe, workstation, Shaper hose, fixtures for my table saw. Then I've got these rotating tables which hold my drum sander, belt sander, a planer, and a reciprocating sander. So you just flip them over if you need the tools. All my clamps, air conditioning for summer, filtration system or vacuum system, router table, slab planer. That is the top I made for my table saw, which is here. And that's a workbench I'm making for my granddaughter, once again made on the Shaper. That was my second project after the boxes. All my wood blanks for turning. More wood. I have lots of wood. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed the tour.
Right on. Thanks so much for sending that in, Frank. Reminder, everyone, we're going to send you something nice if we use your shop tour during the show. And I got to say, I love a story where the woodworking journey started with turning.
You do.
Because that's like, you get a lathe and like you can do quite a bit with just a lathe. You go out and find hunks of wood, throw it in the lathe. You don't need much, but then you're like, oh, maybe I need a table saw so I can start like
then
breaking
come
stuff
all
down.
the other tools.
And then, oh man, maybe I need a bandsaw so I can resaw and do like,
Fun fact, I've never used a lathe. It's
dangerous
it's
slope.
actually a mental block. I'm like, I know if I try, I'll have to find space.
Yeah, you have to
So
dedicate a whole
I'm really
corner
staying
to
away.
it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Frank. By the way, reminder, if you want to send us your own shop tour, sessions@shapertools.com. Send us an email with a shop tour. Horizontal landscape, make sure it's wide this way. 2 to 4 minutes, narrated. If you want to do some fun edits, we're always down for that.
Got some fun edits coming up. Always appreciated.
And send it in and we'll get it in the list. Okay. Let's get back to it because we're running a little late.
Let's get ripping.
And I don't want people to stick around too late, but I definitely want to try to get through the rest of this. So we mentioned a little bit this adaptive speed thing earlier. Let's talk kind of what adaptive speed is. Okay, so when you're driving BenchPilot, or when BenchPilot's driving Origin, and you're off in your shop making something else, you normally set a speed that BenchPilot runs at, and that depends on your material, your bit, kind of the quality you're looking for, the type of cut you're doing, etc. And you can kind of dial this knob in as it's cutting, and generally you would just pick something. Now, if you start running too fast in certain cases, especially where you have really tight inside corners, sometimes if you're running too fast, BenchPilot will just kind of blow through that corner and kind of leave you with a less than ideal corner. And so adaptive speed tries to solve that problem by making it so that when BenchPilot's running, it's always kind of looking ahead a little bit and trying to figure out what is going to happen. And so what's going to happen is if you're running into a big 90-degree corner, BenchPilot's going to say, whoa, 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 I need to slow down.
Pump the brakes.
I'm going to slow down and go through that corner, and then I'll catch back up to my speed when I can. And this is going to result in better cut quality for especially those corners that are inside cuts and other type of cuts.
Yeah.
Now, adaptive speed's a pretty new feature. We just released it. It's the first version of this we've ever done. We are going to be committed to improving it over time. So right now, the feature is off by default. We think it's quite good, but not ready for every tool to run on yet. So the way it works is when you download Oakland, you're going to it's going to do what it used to do. It's not going to change. But if you do decide you want to use adaptive speed, you're going to go to the screen and you'll see that auto passes button at the top. And then actually, can you hide that, the settings over there for a minute? When you open up those passes, you're going to see this. And you'll notice up in the top left corner or top right, there's a little settings icon. If you click that, it's going to give you access to extra things like, do you want to do a roughing pass? Do you want to do multiple depths in your pass? And then the big one is, do you want to use adaptive speed? Now, this is off. This is going to be by default. If you want to use it, you click on that little toggle there. Boom. You'll see it's blue. Now we're in adaptive speed land. If you hit that little eye infographic beside it, it'll tell you a little bit more about it, where you can go check out more, but we're going to explain that to you so you don't need to think about it at this moment. So if it's off, you'll be in regular mode where Origin will cruise along everything at no matter what speed you put it at, and it just says, I'll do my best. If you have adaptive speed on, then it's going to check for those kind of corners and turn it off. So we're going to quickly do a couple cuts, and if you've been around for a while, we have this premium project called the lattice lamp, and the lattice lamp has a bunch of intricate Kumiko-like shapes that are cut. And if you cut this too fast previously, you know, the quality would not be there. And if you turn adaptive speed on, kind of even no matter how fast you run it, you're going to kind of basically get that really nice quality that you're looking for. So Jake's going to go in here, select a couple shapes, and we're going to cut these without adaptive speed. So that seems good there. And then we'll come back and we'll cut a few with adaptive speed, and you're going to see a couple things. Not only the cut quality, but you're going to see how BenchPilot and Origin are working differently now.
Full speed ahead, too. We're going to go 45.
Okay, so he's going to go 45. Now, you don't have to go full speed if you don't want to, and you are going to need to figure out a trade-off between your bit speeds and how fast you're moving Origin with your spindle speeds and your material. But for example, we're going to show 45, which is the max speed, and yeah. All right, so you can see here as we cut this, we're just going to be blasting through those corners. And you can even see there's a little bit of recoil in the way that the camera's moving because we are stopping and starting BenchPilot so fast. So maybe if we go to that top cam, we can even see if you watch how Origin's moving in this way. It's not slowing down. It's just driving full speed ahead. Okay, and then he's going to do one more, which is this rectangle, and this is going to help show us this as well. These inside rectangles are kind of the areas where you see the most issues normally if you're running too fast or your material's too hard or you're being too aggressive with the amount of cuts. So typically people would be having to run that wanted a very, very high quality at a little bit lower speed than ideal. So Jake's going to kind of move that out of the way, and we can kind of see what we're looking at here. And maybe we'll just wait until we do the adaptive speed version to kind of compare them. But let's go ahead and turn on adaptive speed, Jake, and show people how to do that one more time. So we're going to go into that setting, turn that on, and then we can just exit. Now Jake's going to change his selection. So we have these ones right across it. And then you'll see there's a new icon on the top, and that lets you know whether the feature's on or off. If you see the icon on the top, that means the feature's on. If the feature's off, it's not on, okay? And then he's going to let it rip. And so let's watch what happens here. So you can see, even though the speed says it's at 45, we're not actually traveling at 45, okay? It realizes that, hey, these corners are quite tight, and I cannot approach them that fast and get the cut quality that we're looking for. So it's going to kind of manage that for you. Now, obviously, there are going to be some cases where if you're cutting with a very specific material or bit, like let's say plastic or aluminum, you're going to need to manage your speeds and kind of work between that high and low. But even if you were running at 20 inches per minute, it would try to run at 20 inches at the max and then slow down for those corners. And so here, let's watch on this screen here. As we kind of head into this corner here, it's going to slow down and go that corner. And then when it continues, it's going to speed up and then sense that corner and slow down and then move along. So this is a feature we've been really excited about for a while. And you know, sometimes software and testing just takes a bit, but we're happy to bring it to you. And it will get improvements. I'll show you later. There's a website for our forum where I posted a thread. So anyone who is using this now and having issues or successes, please go in there and post your examples for us. If you have issues, post them there. We'll take a look and love to see how you like it and what you think of it. Okay, so let's maybe put that in the camera, maybe above Origin, because I don't know if we're going to be able to see it from the Origin cam or the top cam. Here, we can do this too, maybe. Whoop. Okay, so can you see where over here we have some extra cuts here, but on the ones where we use adaptive speed, which are these three, the corners look much better than these corners over here. So that's adaptive speed in a nutshell.
That is huge. For anyone that's used BenchPilot or really just Origin, period, like this is huge.
Yeah, and if you're looking for that quality, you used to have to kind of be careful about where you ran your speeds. Now you can kind of be a little more, not worry so much.
Yeah.
But I would suggest maybe don't go straight to 45. You're still managing those speeds. So if you're saying go to 45, but then it's slowing down really slow for those corners, your bit's going to be kind of the same. The speed of the spindle is going to be the same when you're cutting those. So if you're cutting something like cherry or maple, when you go to those corners, it's going to be slow down, but the spindle is going to be quite high. And so you're going to need to kind of balance the spindle speed with this. And so do some test cuts. But if you have issues, please come to the forum and let us know. We've already had a couple people share some really big wins where, hey, this used to cause issues and now it's solved. And so we're very happy to bring you adaptive speed. And yeah, we hope you get to play with it. And you know, you don't have to use adaptive speed. If you're finding issues or you're having a situation where you can't slow down on the corners, just turn it off. Change that speed back to whatever you would run it at, figure it out, and it'll be okay as well. It's kind of something you'll have to play with and see if it fits your workflows and your applications. But we believe it's kind of the future. So,
I don't know if you said it already, but it also depends on material, like acrylics and stuff.
Acrylic, metals, even certain hardwoods, cork, foam, like those you have to be much more careful about. Does my spindle, am I driving my spindle too fast and kind of lingering? So with a lot of the woods, we found that it's pretty good, but you may find some burning if you have a very high sugar content wood, or you have your spindle speed too high. Lower that spindle speed some. Most people run Origin spindle speed a little higher than I think they even need to. So try lowering it if you're getting those burn marks, and give us some feedback. The other things I wanted to mention for adaptive speed, we do have one thing. If you do have an issue where you turn it on and you're cutting a bunch of parts, you may find that it's kind of processing. It takes a little more processing to run at adaptive speed, and we're improving that, or will be improving that. So if you're seeing that for now, where the processing bar is coming up and it won't go away, just turn it off and run it in the old mode for now, and then upload that file to the forum so we can get it fixed up. But we already have some good improvements coming in a future update for that. So that's adaptive speed in a nutshell, and we hope you'll play with it if you're a BenchPilot owner and give us some feedback. All right, moving on, because we gotta run through these. Next up, we have ramping. So this is, I wanted to, there was a little bit of confusion that I saw when we already put this. This is not necessarily a feature specifically to cut dovetails. This is a feature to eliminate ramping from a cut. And so what I mean by that is when Origin starts cutting, if this is the top of the material and it's this thick, when we start cutting, normally Origin's going to slowly ramp down until it gets to its depth, and then it'll continue along at that depth. And that's great in most cases, but if you're cutting dovetails or some undercut feature with a T-slot or any other kind of bit that requires you to be in the material, you have to account for how long that ramp is to however deep you're going. And the deeper you're going, the longer the ramp takes. And so we decided this isn't necessarily a dovetail cutting feature, but it does help when you're cutting these undercuts. So you don't have to have it as long of a lead into where you're going to cut. And so it's pretty simple. The way it works is, and Jake's going to go ahead and set this up. There is a feature under the past settings of BenchPilot. And this, I meant to say from the beginning, this works in manual mode and BenchPilot mode. So you don't have to have BenchPilot to do this. Basically, if your past depth setting in AutoPass or BenchPilot settings is off, it's going to plunge to whatever depth you put. And if the past depth setting is on, then it will just ramp like normal. And so Jake's going to quickly just grid this with a...
I was going to, but I'm going to just do a standard.
Okay,
front left.
You do your thing, Jake, and then we'll show people how to enable it. So Jake's just creating a quick one. We're just going to imagine we are cutting this as a dovetail, and we're going to explain kind of how this works. So it's going to go ahead and make a pin tool shape that's not too far off of the world. And the main thing this feature does is eliminate how far you have to cut into a shape before you're at your final depth. And so Jake just put a little line on the outside of this material, and there we go. And boom. Okay, so if we were to cut that, and we're going to do two things. We're going to show how it would happen if we were ramping, and then we're going to show how we're doing if we weren't ramping. And the way this basically works is when you're in the cut settings in this AutoPass mode here, if this feature for past depth is on, the ramp is going to be enabled and actually do it. If you just toggle this off though, no ramp's going to occur. So in the first one, we're just going to turn that on so we can show you kind of how it used to work. And then we'll show you the changes. All right.
Okay. Got my dovetail cutter in there, but I'm just cutting on line.
Yep. Always Z-touch.
Always Z-touch.
And then how deep are you going to cut this one?
I'm going to go down 3/8.
Okay.
0.375.
Yep. And one thing to note, this is just a little pro tip, but if you go to the speeds mode here, and this plunge speed up here, this actually does affect your ramp. So especially if you have a much lower plunge speed, let's say 5 inches per minute, instead of the standard 15, that ramp's going to take a lot longer. Mm-hmm. And so we're kind of exacerbating the issue here, but this will kind of show and explain what's going to happen. So, Jake, I think you're ready to send it.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna see it's gonna go here. Oh. If you don't put Origin in BenchPilot, it will not automatically cut. All right, here we go. Round 2. Oh, actually, I think I screwed up, Jake. It's all right. Open line paths automatically plunge already, so this only is affected on shapes that do not, I believe.
That's great to know.
Forgot about that little detail.
So, why is that?
Why is that? Great question. I'm blanking on the answer at the moment, but all I know it is what it is. if we had a shape that was like a rectangle or a path that connected back on itself, then this feature would do exactly what we were trying to show.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and create a rectangle off of the front edge then.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Round 2. So if you want, you could just make a polygon tool that closes on itself too. That would be one way to do it. And generally, if you're cutting dovetails or one of these things, like you would need a path that kind of connects all the way through and kind of loops back around. Okay, cool. Let's run that. And then, Jake, maybe as soon as it gets through that first piece, you can just stop it, because I don't even know if we'll get through that first ramp.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to make this still an online cut.
Yeah, that's fine. Online works. But I would start on the left side so we can show it a little more clearly. Yep. Yeah, right there.
It's going to go around.
Yep.
The cut.
Oh, I see. I see. It's going left. I thought it was going right. Okay.
All good.
Can't really see from here. Okay, so here you can see we're going to start this cut. And the light blue means we are ramping, right? And so now we're finally down to our depth. And Jake's going to go ahead and stop it here. Okay, so now we can explain and show, if we come to that top camera, what's going on. All right, so you can see there, that ramp didn't have enough time before it got to the cut to actually complete. So we have kind of a failed cut here, because we need to be at depth before we start the cut. So Jake's going to put this back in, and then we're going to turn the past depth feature off so that the ramping doesn't occur. And then we'll show you what happens there. Jake, we made you do some work today, huh?
I love it. Here for it.
Me too. So fun to be showing all the stuff we've been working on. I mean, like, some of these things we've been working on for, long time, some, less time. And, it's really fun to be able to ship these releases to all of our customers and, make Origin such a better tool than it was when I first joined this company 9 years ago. All right, so Jake turned that feature off. Now, when that past depth feature is off, no ramping is going to occur. And so what you're going to notice here, when he hits plunge, it's going to plunge, 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 and see how the range circle is still going up, 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 up. When we get to the final, then it's going to begin the cut. Okay. So it's basically already at depth before it starts moving. Okay, and then he can stop. And that's going to show us exactly the difference between these two settings. Okay? So you can see one is got an incorrect cut, and then the other does. So essentially this feature is going to help you simplify how you have to set up files to cut, undercut, dovetails, T-slots, all those things. And yeah, small little feature, but can make a big deal.
Yeah, it is a
big difference.
It's a big one.
Okay, moving along to the next one. Man, Oakland's kind of packed,
It is packed.
We've been working hard, Shout out everybody on the software team and the testing team, and even everybody at Shaper before these releases go out. We get in the shops and build things and file bugs, so you don't have to worry about it. So the release can be nice and good when it comes out for everybody in the real world. Okay, next up we have a little quick demo for select uncut. So I think, Jake, if you just want to pull back up that lattice lamp example. So there are times where you're cutting a bunch of different things with a bunch of different bits, and you're using BenchPilot and you're kind of selecting, hey, cut these 5 things. Now cut these 3 things. Now cut these. And eventually you get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm done with everything except that what I haven't cut. And so Jake's going to load this file here. And did we delete the cut history? Yep. All right. Just go ahead and cut one of them. Like manually select a single one. And then we'll just cut that real quick so we can explain this. So let's say we were cutting a bunch of things. Generally, like, especially when I'm doing signs, I'm cutting a bunch of things with an engraving bit. Then I'm cutting a bunch of elements with a 1/4-inch bit. And so if I selected everything for the engraving, then I cut that. When I come back and I am ready to cut everything else, you used to have to kind of deselect everything, go around and select the things you want. Now, if the cut history exists to the correct depth, and for some shapes and not others, there will be a button that shows up in the selection one, and it'll come in. So Jake's going to go ahead and just cut this. Okay, cool. So now that's been cut to specification, right? And you can imagine he cut a bunch, let's say. Now when he goes back here and he goes to select mode, you're going to see there's a new button at the top called select and cut. And right now he's got just that one in the middle. So if you zoom out, show him. Nothing selected. There's only one shape that's blue and selected. But if you hit select uncut, boom, it'll select everything except that one because it's already cut.
Nice.
So now you can hit confirm in the bottom, hit go, and it'll just cut everything else for you. Pretty simple, also improvement, but quite nice when you're cutting a bunch of different stuff and using BenchPilot in a more interactive mode. You know, if you're just cutting everything with BenchPilot and you say select all and go, it's not really going to help you. But those cases where you're iterating through a project, cutting different offsets, cutting different depths, all that kind of stuff, it can be a little bit of a winner. Okay, we have some other small little features, but instead of going to show you on Origin how it works, because a lot of them are under the hood stuff, I'm just going to open up this web page here, and we're going to come over to this computer. If you go to the Shaper Tools website, and you can either type this in, releases /origin, or just search software updates on Google for Shaper Origin. When we post new updates, you'll see them here. And at the top, if you don't have Wi-Fi for some reason, you can download a USB file. But we normally don't update this right away because we want to update over the internet and make sure everything's good out in the field before we put it here. So right now, we're actually quite a bit behind. Monterey is the last thing available via USB. So connect your Origin to Wi-Fi and you'll have access to Oakland. If you don't have it for some reason, you'll have to download Monterey and install it over USB for the moment. But over time, that will be updated for newer and newer. Now, we went over a lot of the features that are facing for users, but there's also a bunch of just under the hood stuff. And so shout out to the software team. We did a big kernel upgrade, and this one bringing basically stability and performance improvements to the operating system that Origin runs on. We also did a ton of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth stuff, and so we now support WPA3 networks. So if you weren't able to ever connect, that's possible. We have a lot better roaming, which is, if you have something like Eero or a mesh network, if you were having trouble in the past being connected and staying connected, try checking out Oakland. There's a bunch of changes there that really improve that. And then you can read the own list yourself. But, one of the things I wanted to shout out for the SM2 beta users, we got some Bluetooth and BenchPilot improvements on the Bluetooth layer, which should connect a lot faster. We have things like a new feature that BenchPilot will automatically retract if it detects kind of image issues where maybe lighting or something in your tape is moving and it's causing kind of low cut quality. It will kind of detect that now and retract and ask you, hey, do you want to continue or do you want to keep this protection on? And so you can turn that off if you like. Another kind of notable one is Origin now must see your BenchPilot's fiducial markers to connect. So we had some people where they have multiple Origins in their workshop and multiple BenchPilots, makerspaces, even some personal users who had multiple Origins. And sometimes Origin and BenchPilot get connected to the wrong one because they were a little aggressive. That will no longer happen. If you want to be connected to BenchPilot, you need to be clipped in, and that's the only way. So you may have to wait a slight bit longer, but now there's no place where it can get connected incorrectly.
Yeah.
And there is one small case that we won't go into details here, but it now also alerts you if it's already connected to a different Origin, so you're not wondering what's going on. So tons of bug fixes on the software side that aren't just features that make the tool better, but make the tool better. We fixed a bunch of crashes that had been happening. But so, yeah, Oakland's a big release, and we're very excited to bring it to you. So, yeah, I hope you had a good time seeing all the things. And Jake, thank you for showing us how to do it all.
My pleasure. Thanks everyone for joining. And now we're ready to go over into our Q&A.
See you next time.
Yeah.